Welcome, everybody, to Survive in Advance on the Grueling Truth Sports Network. I'm your co-host for Survive in Advance, Mike Goodpaster. And right now I want to welcome in 1981 national champion and generally just a pain in my ass, Steve Risley. How you doing, Steve?
You know, Mike, I'm feeling very blue today. Very, very, very blue. You know why I'm feeling very blue?
No, I don't really care either.
Because Houston has a problem.
No.
No, they don't.
All right? My Colts made the playoffs. They kicked ass in Tennessee last night. And Houston, it's not Houston we have a problem. It's Houston that has a problem.
Yeah.
I'm quoting Jim Lovell and Tom Hanks. You know who Jim Lovell is, Mike? Do you even know who Jim Lovell is?
Do I know who is?
Jim Lovell. Do you know who he is?
Lovell.
You ask me these questions all the time. Like, do you know who some obscure boxer is?
Huh?
Who's Jim Lovell? Do you know who Jim Lovell is?
Do I know who Jim Lovell is? Yeah, he's a fucking
Are you
NASA.
Googling it right now? Yeah, you're
No.
Googling it right now.
Jesus,
Yeah,
you
go
won't
ahead.
even let me answer anyways. You're such an ass. Jesus.
Introduce our guest.
He was a
We have
NASA.
very
He was on
special-
Apollo 13, the ill-fated Apollo 13 mission. So, since we've established you still don't know something I don't know.
What else do you know about Jim Lovell?
He was
He was
one
on
of only
Apollo 8. He was
24
the
men to
first
fly
man
to
to
the
orbit the
moon, if I
moon.
remember right.
He's one of the greatest astronauts of all time in the history of the world. Introduce our guest.
Wow.
We have a very
What does
special
being
guest
one of
today.
the greatest astronauts of all time mean? It means was he in on a faked moon landing? All right, next up, our special guest today
My favorite guy.
is a foreigner because we like to really, have diversity on this show. So from Canada, help me welcome the lovely Lukas Weese.
Mike, Steve, it's great to be back on the Grueling Truth. That's all I got to say.
Lucas, stand up from the north, man. I have missed you so badly. Mike, it's been so much trouble to deal with without you. You got to come back to us, please.
No,
I can't
he's
deal with it
not
on my
wrong.
own anymore.
No, I upgraded and very busy up here, but you guys are doing a great job.
No. You didn't upgrade. You guys don't get half the followers we get. You got paid.
Well, to Canada, there's only like 3,000 people up there, right?
Yeah, exactly. You didn't upgrade.
True.
You dropped about 1/5 of your listeners, and you got paid. So don't tell me you upgraded. There's nothing better than a Grueling Truth. We're the biggest site in the world. It's not owned by somebody else.
Huh?
But you
Okay,
didn't
that
pay,
made no
so
sense.
good for you.
All right,
We're not.
let's
Okay,
go.
wow.
It is New Year's Day if you're listening to us. Unless you're listening live, then you'll know the truth. It's the day before. But we are counting down the top 10 sports moments of 2018. Risley, what's your number 10?
Number 10, Michigan State University, the situation with the gymnastics, everything going on there. I think that's number 10 for me.
Leave it to you to go in the gutter. I wanted to find 10 moments that were like uplifting. How about you, Mr. Weese?
So I got a moment that's very dear to my heart, and that's Team Canada winning the World Junior Hockey Championship. It's a very special tournament up here in Canada. It happens every holiday. I'm actually here covering the tournament this year, which happens to be in Canada. And I knew a lot of the junior players who were on that team. And it was just a great win. We hadn't won in a few years. And it was a great way to start 2018. So I got that my number 10.
All right. I don't have a number 10. I only came up with 9 moments. So I'll go number 10, the Red Sox and Dodgers, that 7-hour and 20-minute game. And the reason I bring that up is it went on long enough that there was absolutely nothing on TV. So I actually watched part of a World Series game for the first time in decades.
Touche. I did the same thing, too. I live in Los Angeles. I actually watched the game, too. We can't want to turn it off.
All right.
Of course, the difference between us, Mike, is it ended at 8 o'clock or 8:30 here, and then at about 3 o'clock in the morning, your time.
Yeah, I know. That's why there was nothing else to watch, so I actually watched some of it. I will admit that I fell asleep right before the winning run, though. And I will also admit that I didn't really care when it came down to it.
I did not fall asleep. I watched it all the way through until the end.
I did, too. We did. We were
there you go.
We were trying to get back to an episode of Keeping Up with the Kardashians, but the damn game kept going on and on and on, and we could not get
All right,
to
that's
the
enough.
episode.
Nobody cares.
We had of Keeping Up with the Kardashians.
All right, number 9. I've got this. I've got the U.S. winning curling gold behind John Schuster, who is the face of American curling for the last 4 Olympics, and then he wins the gold medal. And the great thing about that is, when you think of Canada, what do you think of? You think of curling, and you think of hockey, and you think of bad Labatt's beer. Other than that, that's about it. So the thing that was great here was, it would be like Canadians coming out and beating Americans at football, which will never happen. So in the end, I think number 9, the U.S. winning curling gold. And they didn't even get to beat Canada in the gold medal game because they played Sweden. That was disappointing for me. Lucas, what's your number 9?
My number 9 is the 2018 World Cup, which we actually talked about on the Grueling Truth when I was on there for a brief time.
How are we doing sports? Top sports moments, right?
Well, listen to this story. Well, this is, what I like to call a story that really inspires. So, of course, France beat Croatia 4-2 in the final. The top star of that team, Kylian Mbappe, he donated all of his winnings to a French charity that promotes sports for underprivileged youth. So it's a really unique story because it's, one that doesn't, capture a lot of the headlines, but it's a really good story. And it just shows you how, a star athlete like that who has all the money in the world, he could have kept all of it, but he chose to give it to a really, fantastic organization in France. So I got the World Cup. It was also viewed by 3.1 billion people around the world, making it the most watched sporting event of 2018.
No, it wasn't. Because the only thing that matters is your numbers in this country. What were the numbers in this country?
They were huge, Mike. You're an idiot.
They were
huge.
huge?
I mean, of course.
They're huge, Mike. I mean,
they're huge. So they're like 75 million people watched it in this country?
Mike, soccer is the biggest sport in the world. Whatever you think.
Nobody cares.
Sport in the world.
Nobody cares. All right, here we go.
Lucas,
this is it.
Lucas, do you care?
Lucas is not even an American. I don't even know why we have him on the show.
Lucas, do you care?
Once every 4 years, I do care. I do care.
Yeah, and I care too, Mike.
No, you don't. You don't care.
But I care, yes, because it is the biggest sporting event in the world. Bar none.
It is.
Really?
It is.
The Super Bowl doesn't touch it.
Really?
Baseball doesn't touch it. No sport touches.
You know how many people watch the World Cup in the United States? You got to get out of the trailer in Lawrenceburg, Indiana every once in a while, buddy. Do you know how many people watch the World Cup live?
I guess it's in the billions, is what I'm guessing.
In the United States. How could it be in billions when there's only like 300 million people in the United States?
You said live, worldwide.
Yeah,
live.
in the United States. I never said worldwide. I said in the United States. If this is the biggest sporting event in the world, how many Americans watched it?
Mike, you're an idiot.
You're an idiot because you can't give me an answer. Give me an answer. This is the biggest sporting event in the world. There's 350 million people in this country. How many people do you think watched the World Cup final?
I mean, I'm not on Google right now, so Google it and tell me how many there is.
I already did. I know how many it is. I'm just looking for your guess. Is your guess like 300 million, 200 million? Because it's the biggest sporting event in the world.
I'm saying it's in the billions.
It's in the billions?
Yeah.
Okay, it was 11 million. 11 million out of 350 million Americans watched it, so it wasn't that important.
Oh, well, you're talking America. I'm talking worldwide. Soccer is not an American sport.
No, it's not, because it's stupid.
Good call, Lucas. Good call,
Yeah,
Lucas.
great call, Lucas.
Thank you.
Way to pick a sport where everybody takes a dive, and I think half the French team was African, actually, weren't they?
Let's go to Steve's number 9. Let's go to Steve's number 9.
My number 9 is, I know I'm going to catch crap for this, too. For the first time since 1979, this year, there will not be an Earnhardt racing in NASCAR. Dale Earnhardt, and the biggest name in the sport in auto racing in the United States. And I'm going to couple that with Lewis Hamilton winning his 5th world title, and F1 being the biggest racing venue in the world. But there will not be an Earnhardt racing for a championship for the first time since 1979 in NASCAR, and that will hurt NASCAR badly. That's my number 9.
All right. When's the last time Earnhardt won the NASCAR championship?
1998, I think.
Okay. Well, it's been 20 years, so they'll get over it. Yeah. Number 8, Lucas.
My number 8 is Canada's performance at the Winter Olympics. And despite not medaling in curling, which is embarrassing, I know, because Canada, curling is one of our big sports, we didn't win gold in either men's and women's hockey, but we still got the most medals that our country has ever got at any Olympic Games. And it was just a fantastic Olympics with, Mikhail Kinsbury winning moguls, Tessa Virtue, Scott Moir winning gold at figure skating, many other great stories. But for me as a Canadian, to break the record for winning the most medals at an Olympic Games is very special. It's my number 8.
My number 8 is at Olympics, too, because once again, the United States dominated Canada in their own sport as the U.S., women's hockey team won the gold medal. Jocelyn Lamoureux Davidson, put it in, and the U.S. won. And it's always awesome whenever the U.S. wins in ice hockey, just because it's ice hockey, and only the northern states care. But it's great that we could beat Canada, where Lucas is from, once again. Steve, number 8?
My number 8 is University of Maryland, Baltimore County beating Virginia. First time ever that a number 1 seed beat a number 16 seed in the NCAA tournament. I think that damn tournament is so overhyped. It's ridiculous. CBS spends way too much money, pays too much money, but that's the first time it ever happened, and I don't want to over-credit it because I hate the point guard for Virginia because he falsely claims to have broken my high school scoring record.
Your record. Just get off of it.
He didn't break my record.
It's getting old.
He didn't break my record.
He broke it.
He didn't break my record.
He broke it. What's it say at the school? When you go to Lawrence Central, who does it say on the wall as the all-time leading scorer?
Me.
It does.
And him. They put him up next to me.
Oh, and him. Okay.
Yeah, I know. And he's got a man bun, and I don't.
Yeah, it's because you don't have enough hair left to have a man bun.
But no, I think that for the first time ever in the tournament, a number 16 seed beat a number 1 seed. It couldn't have happened to a nicer bunch of fellas, as far as I'm concerned. But I think that's my number 8. That's my number 8 pick.
I think that's way too low. But we'll.
I'm getting hate mail. I'm getting hate mail from Virginia right now.
No, you're not.
I agree.
Nobody
in
Virginia knows who you are. Jeez.
Way too low.
Yeah. All right. My number 7. Yeah, it's way too low. We'll talk about it a little bit and how stupid that pick at number 8 was.
I'm not going to give it credit.
For losing? You're not going to give him credit for losing, but you don't like him. That makes a lot of sense.
There you go.
He lost.
It's all one of the same.
He lost.
Go.
But I'm going to go with the Notre Dame women's basketball team, and I would just give it to the girl who made the shot at the buzzer twice, but I can't pronounce her name, so we're just going to say the Notre Dame women's basketball team. I think her name is like Arik Ugunbowola or something. But she took down UConn, and then national championship game, hits a buzzer beater to win the game. That's my number 7, Lucas. What's yours?
My number 7 is Justify winning the Triple Crown. Again, very similar to UMBC beating Virginia. It's a rare occurrence when a horse wins the Triple Crown. Before Justify, only 12 horses had done it. Justify, ran a brilliant race through the rain at Kentucky Derby, through the fog at Preakness, and then just really did a fantastic run at the Belmont Stakes. So, whenever there's a Triple Crown, I mean, you never know when it's going to happen again. It could be many, many years, but it's very nice to see Justify do it. So I got Justify number 7.
All right.
So my number 7 was the UConn girls getting beat too.
No, you just added it because you forgot about it until I.
No, I didn't. But Lucas did Justify. Because I had that higher. I think that's great. I think the Triple Crown is one of the greatest sporting events to win that Triple Crown. Because you're right. There's only 12 horses that have done it. Didn't the horse 2 years ago? What was the horse 2 years ago? It was the same stables that won.
American Pharaoh.
Same stables, right?
Yes. Correct.
Yeah, so the back-to-back for a trainer and an owner to produce two within the last 2 or 3 years, that's much higher in my elevation. That's going to be number 1 for me, maybe. I don't know.
You just made it number
But I love
7,
animals.
didn't
I love
you?
animals.
And you called it number 7. What's your number 1?
I said Notre Dame women, the women's championship was number 7.
So why did you go from talking about the Notre Dame women's championship to Justify?
Because I agree with Lucas. It's a great story. It's one of the best
So
stories
it's not in
of
your
the year.
top 10?
Yeah, it's higher in my top 10.
Okay, we'll just wait then. All right. Number 6, Steve.
Number 6, I had U.S. curling team. No. I had U.S. curling team at number 6. I think that was another one of those things where it brought a different sport into the forefront of television and attention. I think it was a great human interest story. These guys, I mean, it's a blue-collar sport where any idiot can go learn to do it. You don't have to be,
Very true.
You have to be 6'10" and
Hey, Lucas.
Run a 4.240.
Is this like deja vu back in the day when we used to do this show, and it always seemed like Risley never came in with a top 10? He just kind of pick and chose whatever we brought up? Thank you.
Little bit of deja vu, but Steve's doing a good job.
Good job, Steve.
Thank you.
All right.
I had curling team. Yeah, at number 6. I enjoyed. You know what? I never gave a damn about curling, and I've watched.
There you go.
Curling, and it made me watch. It made me watch the Olympics because I really don't particularly care for the Winter Olympics unless Lindsey Vonn is skiing down and crashing into something and killing herself again. Other than that, I don't really care.
Whoa.
Shaun White, other than that, so the curling thing made me want to go find NBC Sports Olympic Channel and watch curling because it was just a cool story. And that's big to me.
Let's try this a different way now, Lucas. Steve, number 6.
That wasn't number 6.
That was number 6.
Okay. What are we at then?
No, I haven't done my number 6, and I don't think you have either, Mike.
Oh, my number 6 is the Minneapolis. The Minneapolis Miracles. My number 6. Just because it's American. All right, Lucas, what do you got?
That was a heck of a game, by the way. That was incredible.
Was that the football catch?
The football catch.
Yeah,
you're supposed to be on a sports show daily. And when I bring up the Minnesota Miracle, you go, "Oh, is that football catch? Is that when the guy hit the home run?"
Which is it, the baseball team or the football team? Which one?
Lucas, number 6.
So
Minneapolis gets through a winter without, falling into the St. John River, whatever that river, St. Charles River runs through that city.
All right, save him, Lucas.
So my number 6 will be UMBC beating Virginia. I just put it higher because, you understand that 135 times the 1 beat the 16. That's so many games played. And, every year you say to yourself, is it going to be this year? Is it going to be this year? And not only did UMBC beat Virginia, which was the number 1 rated team, the ACC champion, but they killed them. They dominated them. They blew them off the court. So, and even though they lost in the second round to Kansas State, UMBC will always be the first 16. So whichever 16 seed comes after, if there is one, everyone will look to UMBC. So it's in my number 6. It could be higher, but I have some good ones in my top 5. So I got it at number 6.
Yeah, and the first is always more special, Steve. It's kind of like when you were in high school and the first girl that got drunk enough to sleep with you, she'll always hold a special part in your heart.
You know what? that was the second greatest night in my history of NCAA basketball, and that's where I leave my heart.
When you lost your virginity?
No. My number 1 greatest night was us winning in 81. My second greatest was when UMCB beat Virginia and Kyle Guy. That was the second.
Wait a second. Night. So your second best night was when UMCB beat Kyle Guy.
Baltimore Cats.
I thought it would be what about your marriage?
There, you got
What
it.
about your marriage? What about your wedding?
I said my NCAA history.
Okay. All right. My number 5. Risley, be quiet. My number 5 is Loyola Chicago going to the Final Four.
Good one.
Because they had that old Catholic lady too that got on TV a lot, and
Sister Jean.
And they made a run to the Final Four, which I think was impressive. Plus, it's college basketball, which I like college basketball. There's no Canadian teams in college basketball I wanted to bring up. Lucas, what's your number 5?
My number 5 was the Stanley Cup Final. And normally I don't put the Stanley Cup Final in my top 10.
Do they still play that?
They do. They do.
Kill me.
But,
who's Gretzky play for?
Okay, so if you're gonna
go ahead.
My number 5 is the Stanley Cup Final because even though there were 2 American teams, the Vegas Golden Knights and the Washington Capitals, and both these teams came into the Stanley Cup Final with tons of great stories. Of course, Vegas was an expansion team, and normally with an expansion team, you bomb for a few years before you get competitive. Vegas' inaugural season, they made it to the Stanley Cup Final, and they are, statistically the best expansion team in their inaugural season in any sports league. Unfortunately, they did not get it done, which is, unfortunate, and they're not etched onto the Stanley Cup. But the Washington Capitals, they're also a great story because they have one of the best goal scorers of all time, Alexander Ovechkin, who had never won a Stanley Cup before. So for him to get his first Stanley Cup finally after so many years and so many disappointments, it was fantastic. And to me, it was, 2 great teams, great storylines going in. And, it's rare for me to put the Stanley Cup Final with 2 American teams in it, but I did because of the great storyline. So that's my number 5.
And what's wrong with the Stanley Cup has 2 American teams in it?
Wow. I want some Canadian teams in there.
You said like Donald
Trump. Now
you said like Donald Trump. I mean, you just want it to be all about your country. All right.
Steve? He wants to build a wall.
Steve? They probably should build one up there to keep us out.
Some latitude here. First off, Wayne Gretzky lives about 15 miles from me. Now, I can't get in this freaking neighborhood because it's triple gated, so I can't get near him. But he's about 15 miles down the interstate from me in Thousand Oaks. So, I'm close to greatness. That's about the closest I'm going to get. Secondly, I agree with Lucas entirely. I think the Golden Knights getting to the Stanley Cup Finals in their inaugural season for a city like Las Vegas, which is a very transient city, and then to have our nation's capital.
Steve, is this your number 5?
Yes.
Then you're definitely copying off me and Lucas. But go ahead.
Do we get censored on this channel or not? Do we get censored? Because
obviously not. We're still on.
I'm going to go Bobby Guy real quick here right now. I'm thinking of a few expletive deletives that would just make
What's
you
an expletive deletive?
Keep going, Steve.
I think the Golden Knights in hockey, and again, Vegas is a destination. I mean, the Capitals, Washington winning, it was good for hockey. I think it brings hockey back into the forefront.
So let me ask you this, Steve. When Washington won, okay, go ahead.
Hockey probably runs their organization better than any sport, any professional sport.
They don't.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, that's why they still say that CTE cannot be caused by how it hits to the head.
Oh, God. CTE happens everywhere. You know the number one sport with CTE is in high school? It's girls volleyball, believe it or not.
I don't believe it. I believe that it's soccer because it is.
Look it up. It's girls, but they're all about
I have
football.
looked it up. That's how I know it's soccer.
Yeah.
I don't even know what that has to do with anything.
Anyway, I think that what the Vegas Golden Knights did for hockey and what the Capitals did was very good for hockey for Canada and the United States and the world. Because I think that since the Russians have kind of disbanded and they're not the dominant team anymore, it's a good shot in the arm for hockey, and I like that story. It was a great story.
And
it was very fun.
I always forget this, but what was...
I watched some hockey.
I don't think you did. All right, so what was the Capitals' best player's name?
I have no idea. I don't care.
Okay, so that means you copied off of him because you would actually had something written down if you were doing it yourself. Number 4, Steve.
Number 4?
Yeah.
No. I was trying to find the name of the number 4, a good hockey player from the number 4 was the Cavaliers getting swept by Golden State. To me, I mean, and I'm the one who picked the Cavaliers. I know, rip me on that.
Hey, real quick, right. Lucas, if you listened to today's show, Risley had to sing the Notre Dame fight song at the end of it.
Notre Dame fight song, I did. Yeah.
Oh my!
I did.
I'm gonna have to listen to that.
I think that and I think that jettisoned LeBron out of Cleveland and realized he wasn't going to win there anymore. And I think that was a major story to get swept when we all thought that, I think it was bad for the NBA to get a sweep like that. Good for Golden State, great for them. They're a great basketball team, but it was not good for the NBA. That was my number 4.
All right, my number 4 is kind of the same thing, but my number 4 is J.R. Smith. With 4.5 seconds left at the end of regulation of Game 1 of the NBA Finals, the Cavaliers had a chance to go up a game. J.R. Smith grabs an offensive rebound off of George Hill's missed free throw and had a chance to win the game. Instead of going back up to win the game or kicking out to a teammate to shoot, J.R. Smith dribbled the ball out as the shot clock expired. So, my number 4 top sports moments is because I don't really like the Cavaliers, was J.R. Smith screwing up the NBA Finals. Lucas?
My number 4 is just the dominant teams winning their championships, and particularly I'm looking at the Warriors and the Red Sox. The Red Sox were 108 wins. They won the ALDS over the Yankees in 5. They beat the defending champ Astros in 5, and they beat the Dodgers in 5, even though the Dodgers won that epic 18-inning game that Mike talked about earlier. The Warriors, of course.
Hey, here's a little unknown fact I found out about that too, Lucas. The 1939 World Series, the 4 games combined didn't go as long as that one game.
Oh, it was incredible. I mean, it was, and I thought this could be a turning point in the series until Boston won Game 4, coming back and winning that game. So, and then of course the Warriors, like Steve said, I mean, it wasn't a great final, but they're a dynasty. I mean, it's no wonder why. They are the modern day dynasty, 3 titles in 4 years. And if you do a little bit more research and read into last season, it wasn't always pretty in that locker room. But Steve Kerr was able to manage those guys, and those guys played together when it really mattered, and they were the best team. So to me, when I look at 2018, I look at 2 franchises like the Red Sox and the Warriors. They dominated the regular season, and they win a championship. So I got that number 4.
All right, Steve, number 3.
Number 3, I have LeBron's move to L.A. I think it was an orchestrated move by the NBA. I think it was a well-thought-out decision to bolster a market. I think there's a lot more to it than and I'm out here, and I mean, he has taken over this city. He is probably the most celebrated celebrity in Los Angeles right now. And I think that's number 3 story, is him leaving Cleveland, which is his home, which he left to go to Miami, won championships, came back, won championship Cleveland, and said, I'm going out here. And I think that's almost as much of a story as Michael Jordan allegedly retiring from the NBA, because he had so many gambling debts that his father probably didn't accidentally pass away. And he was forced to sit out a couple of years and then comes back and leads the Bulls back to championships. LeBron moving to L.A., I think, is a number 3 story.
All right. My number 3 is Alabama. Come from behind, down 20-10 at halftime, 20-10 at the start of the fourth quarter. Tua Tagovailoa comes in, leads them to the championship win. The thing that stood out to me was the fact that was almost exactly replayed in the SEC championship game this year, where the head coach for Georgia played not to lose the game. He did it this year. This year he did the opposite, where he goes for it 4th and 9, a fake punt at midfield. Last year, though, he goes to overtime. His offense is clicking. He's got a good quarterback in Jake Fromm. He decides to run the ball, kick the field goal, and then Nick Saban showed why he may be the greatest college football coach of all time. First play of overtime, he throws the ball, or the second play of overtime, he throws the ball deep on, I think it was like 2nd and 20 because they'd gotten sacked on the first play, and it ends up being a touchdown. They win the national championship. That's my number 3, Lucas.
My number 3 is the Eagles winning the Super Bowl. The way, of course, the Eagles had never won a Super Bowl before. Lots of, disappointment and heartbreak for those Philadelphian fans. But then you thought that maybe there was going to be more heartbreak when Carson Wentz went down to injury. But then Nick Foles comes in, and boy, did he put on a show during that postseason with an epic NFC Championship performance, sweeping or shutting out the Minnesota Vikings. And, of course, an epic Super Bowl win against the New England Patriots. That was the highest scoring Super Bowl. You could easily put that at number 1. It was a fantastic Super Bowl if you really love offense. But I got that at number 3. Fly, Eagles, fly. They're at number 3. Great season for them, and just nice to see a backup quarterback win a Super Bowl.
All right, my number 2 is University of Maryland at Baltimore County, 74-54 win over Kyle Guy, the leading scorer in Lawrence Central history's Virginia Cavaliers. Like Lucas said, 0-135 before that. It looks like Marvin Lewis, if he'd have been allowed to be the Bengals coaches for the next 75 years in the playoffs, he was 0-135. But a 16 seed beating a 1 seed is huge. And I know Steve doesn't like the Big Ten or the NCAA tournament because he's a communist.
Yeah.
But to me,
okay,
by far,
Mike,
that's
Mike,
what?
wait, Mike,
What?
That's
What?
That's inevitable. That pick, hang on, that pick is inevitable. That's going to happen eventually. Improbable is a different thing. See, you get hung up on inevitable. There was going to come a point in time where eventually a number 16 seed is going to be number 1. Improbable are things that you don't ever expect are going to happen. Like the USA men's curling team winning a gold medal. That's improbable.
Yeah, because that's a greater sports story of this past year than the NCAA basketball tournament.
Again, inevitable and improbable. Now, I'm making you look silly right now.
How are you making me look silly? You're bringing up curling and inevitability. You know what? It was inevitable that at some point 4 drunken Americans could win a curling gold medal.
Story. Not the biggest televised sporting event.
Nobody said that. The top sports story, and I'm sorry. But in number 16, beating a number 1 in the NCAA basketball tournament, March Madness is bigger than the U.S. winning curling gold medal.
It was going to happen eventually. I'm just glad it happened the way it happened.
Oh, it's going to happen. Well, everything's going to happen eventually. Tell me something that won't happen eventually. Oh, you'll have a good idea.
Nobody will ever throw more strikes than no-hitters or strikeouts more than Nolan Ryan.
I don't know that. He had 7 no-hitters. How do you know nobody else can do that?
350 strikeouts a year for 20 years.
You know what? This is the thing. When is the world going to end? Can you tell me that?
Yeah, actually I can't. But I'm not
watch your YouTube video again and let me know.
Panic in the world.
I don't give a shit if it's inevitable or not. This is the thing. It was inevitable that Mike Tyson would lose eventually because almost everybody does.
He's an idiot. Tyson was an idiot.
You're an idiot. You're an idiot. Takes one to know one. But, see, I'm kicking your ass again. You don't have the wits to talk to me, boy. Jeez. I'll tell you what. It's like talking to Stephen A. Smith if he only had a quarter of his half a brain. All right, number 2, Steve.
My number 2?
Yeah.
Eagles Super Bowl. I think that's a blue-collar team that came. They were a good football team, definitely. But the run they made with their backup quarterback, who emerged as really should be the starting quarterback of that franchise, as Lucas said. That to me was because that is a huge worldwide sporting event. And the run they made, I think, was the number 2 sports story to win the Super Bowl.
Well, that's a stupid pick. Lucas, did you do your number 2 yet?
No, I did not.
Well,
my number 2 is, a story that, was big here in Canada that really then went all over the world. it was the Humboldt Broncos bus crash.
Yeah.
That just, I remember waking up at my home and watching this. I mean, because it just brought back memories when I was a kid, and I would go and take a bus when I played hockey when I was younger.
You played hockey?
That's what all the young. I did.
Oh, because you kind of look like a sissy in your pictures.
Mike, shut up.
I'm trying to talk, Mike.
Go ahead.
Mike, shut up.
Okay.
I forgot. I thought you were Steve Risley for a second.
Okay.
So
junior hockey players, they take the bus everywhere they go, and you begin to take that for granted. But when you saw that tragedy, it made you put things into perspective. But to me, the bigger story in all this, guys, was what happened afterward. Is that the hockey community instantly came together, and the hockey media, the Canadian media, Humboldt allowed them to come in and talk to the families and talk to the players and begin to tell the story of this small town to the rest of Canada and the world. And when you think of the money that's been raised for all those families and to come and, and to get better and to try to move on, which is very difficult. I mean, for those survivors of that bus crash, it's going to take years, maybe not even if ever, for them to recover of what happened. But I think the miracle was how the hockey community came together and just really supported this community. And to tell you the truth, now, 1 year after the fact, they are the best junior team in their league. And they did a beautiful ceremony. I was there for when they raised the banners of everyone on that team. So it was a very emotional moment, but it just showed you how through tragedy, it can inspire people to come together. And I think it really took the nation to heart, and it allowed a lot of big things. So that was my number 2 moment. Very powerful how a tragedy could lead to unity and healing.
Yeah, that's actually my number 1, by the way. So.
Oh, wow.
The thing about that is this. And Steve, we know it's not your number 1 because you didn't even consider hockey, so don't say it's your number 1.
Right. Yeah, you're right. I apologize.
But listen,
for that.
this is the thing.
Yeah.
I do the CFL show all the time, correct? We do it every week.
Right.
And I tweeted out to all the main players CFL-wise, if you know what I mean, so it'll get shared and stuff. And I share it to the same 7 or 8 places all the time. And like a couple months ago, when I was doing that, I get a text from one of the CFL places I send it to, and it was called CFL Daily, and it was one of their players from the Humboldt team that actually ran that Twitter page. And I got a message from a guy on CFL Headlines, and he's like, you might as well not retweet to him anymore. He was one of the Humboldt kids. So, yeah. So, number 1, Steve.
Well, I just want to comment. I mean, I'm not a hockey fan. I mean, by nature, I'm just not. I mean, but I follow that story very closely because it was an incredible human interest story, and that's a great, eloquent delivery, Lucas, and it should be number 1 because it truly how a community comes together and how a sport came together to support those families and those kids. And I applaud you for putting it up there. And I did not have it on my top 10, and I'm definitely wrong for not doing that.
You're not wrong for it, because the way I look at it if you put the top 10 sports, I had a problem with it just because, man, how can you tell kids dying is a top sports moment? But
because
when you look at the surrounding, I know, that's what I'm trying to say, but Risley won't let me speak. It's kind of normal for me. But that was my point. It was everything surrounding it. And, I mean, it's just heartbreaking that you get all these parents that lose their kids when they're just going to play a game. And, I know they take a lot longer bus trips in Canada, but it's the same thing if a high school football bus crashes in the United States. It could happen at any time. And it is something that doesn't happen often. But, so like I said, I can understand not thinking about it as being a top 10 moment just
Right.
because it's such a bad moment. But all right, Lucas or Steve.
We had a beloved news anchor. Chris Burrows was a news anchor out here on a local in LA, and he passed away unexpectedly at 43 years old. And my wife and I cried incessantly because we got up every Saturday and Sunday morning and watched Chris Burrows and his crew do the weekend news. We loved him, and he just unexpectedly passed away overnight. I mean, and it's the same thing when these things happen, but you see the support and rally that this city of Los Angeles has shown around Chris Burrows or around the Humboldt hockey team. That's what gives you confidence that the world can be a good place. And I think that Canada exemplified that in a huge way around that. And it's tragic, but the story surrounding it, like you said, was just fabulous. My number one was Tiger's comeback. Tiger's win at the Tour Championship, and all the crap that's gone on in his life, what he's created for himself, what he's, messed his own life up, but how he's fought back at his age. And golf is not a game of older people, and he came back, and I think that we have expectations now. Tiger, you're going to see greatness out of him again. So Tiger's come back to me and winning in the fashion that he won, and the way he played up until he won that was my number one story for the year.
All right, Lucas.
But right now he's the most dominant sports figure in the world right now.
He is?
I think he is.
Okay. I don't know how that's possible, but all right.
Anywhere he flies to, people pay his jet fuel.
Uh-huh.
They pay for the fuel of his jet to go there.
I don't think that.
He's big.
Well, that just means rich people at airports know who he is. Lucas?
So I'm going to agree with Steve. Tiger
Oh,
was my number one.
Yeah, it's great when a man overcomes cheating on his wife and stuff. That's a rough life.
But the reason why I put it number one is because I was there covering the PGA Championship, where he nearly won it, and that day was so spectacular because he was one back of Brooks Koepka, and the whole St. Louis crowd was just on him. He just fell short, but everyone knew that day he was going to win soon. And then I fly to Atlanta to cover the Tour Championship, and every single day, Tiger, can he do it? Can he do it? And then that final day, I left the media center before Tiger approached the 16th because I said to myself, I want to be greenside to witness history. The 80th PGA Tour victory. Tiger had won 5 years, all the back problems. This is a man who couldn't walk. I mean, he said it himself, he couldn't walk, couldn't, live a proper life. And to see that scene on the 18th at East Lake where everyone's, walking behind him as Tiger's walking up the 18th fairway, that was
cool.
One of the cool, I mean, I'm going to say this to my, kids and grandkids one day. That'll be one of the coolest sports moments that I've ever seen live. And to be there and to watch Tiger, and, I got to see him in the press conference later. It was pretty special. So for me, if you look at the sport of golf, Tiger is the needle. And, he moves that, he doesn't just move the needle, he is the needle. He makes golf what it is. He's the reason why golfers make over $1 million when they win a tournament. And that just proved it that day and this year. What a comeback story. That's my number one.
So do you think, Lucas, it was inevitable he was going to win again?
No. There was
a legit. That.
No.
I thought it was inevitable.
He was.
Lucas?
No, I thought
Steve,
this year.
Was it inevitable? Because you told me
this year
that you thought he would win again.
This year, after what we saw this year.
I thought
after what we saw this year.
Only because of the reasons that Lucas states, I think that there is more to it than just winning. It's the willpower. It's the concentration. golf is a very hard game
That's
to
not
play.
what I asked you,
No,
but all right.
No,
Yeah, I've played
I
golf
played.
before, Steve.
No, you played putt-putt.
Yeah, I played putt-putt. I'd kick your ass at putt-putt. I'd kick your ass on a regular golf course. So, quit ducking me when I challenge you to golf matches.
And can I finish my statement?
Sissy, no.
I think that the mental fortitude that Tiger Woods displayed in the human spirit of what he's gone through his personal situation with his family, through his injuries, and through his drive to regain his greatness is the biggest story in sports, bar none. And I
No, it's not. It's not. Tyson Fury is much bigger than that.
You're okay. Give us your story for number one.
Oh, Tyson Fury, the depression, the cocaine, 2.5 years out of the ring, comes back and beats one of the guys in the heavyweight champion. Yeah, but I don't put him there because of this. I don't see anything. I think it's great that somebody overcomes a hole they dig, but I'm not going to celebrate it because they should have dug the hole to begin with.
Do you realize that golf is probably the only sport you play where the ball is stationary when you address it? Think about that. It's the only sport you play where the ball is stationary. It's on a tee. You hit it. It's on grass. It's not moving.
Okay, the ball, wait a second. It's not, because in football the ball is stationary too when you start.
No,
it's not.
And then you start throwing it.
So you're allowed to roll it around before you snap it?
And how many times have you seen, the center
That's
roll
a penalty.
The ball, turn it over, move
That's a penalty.
It's
You're not allowed to move the ball once it gets there. It doesn't matter because it's golf, Steve. And no matter how you cut it, golf is not a courageous sport.
Lucas, well put, Lucas, and that's a great.
Thank you, Steve.
PGA, and I know you're going to do PGA for your network, and I'm looking forward to listening to your stuff because what Tiger did to overcome the shit he had to overcome to get back to winning again, and I think he's going to. Lucas, I'm going to ask you another question here in a few minutes about predictions for 2019. And my prediction is Tiger wins majors this year. And we'll get to that in a minute. But, Lucas, well put. Mike, give us your feeble number one now. It ain't going to be as good.
I already gave mine. It was the Humboldt hockey team, and I'm sorry you think it's feeble.
Okay, well, all right.
I respect that number one, Mike. I respect that number one.
And I'm telling you this. To me, Tiger Woods has won a bunch before. Maryland, Baltimore County never won a tournament game.
And I don't think. And they never will again.
They never will again because
Andy Warhol's 15 minutes of fame. Go enjoy it. You know what? I understand.
And that's a huge sports moment. It is a moment that will be remembered by the masses longer than Tiger Woods. Golf is not a mainstream sport.
You're so wrong.
I'm not. All right. How many people watched the Masters last year?
I would think that's probably one of the most watched television events in the world. Across,
Once again, nobody cares about the world. We're Americans. We only care about ourselves, Steve.
Steve, or Mike.
Yeah.
When golf majors are on, and you check Twitter on Sunday, he has over 1 million tweets.
Right.
And the fact that you say that golf isn't relevant in the States, I beg to disagree. I beg to disagree.
This is the thing. You had 13 million viewers, so it is bigger than the World Cup.
In America?
Yeah.
Well, in America, of course it's bigger.
Once again, this is the thing you're missing, Lucas. We're Americans. We don't care about foreigners.
Well, that's you. That's you living in Lawrenceburg, Indiana.
I'm being sarcastic, Steve.
And you live in a trailer park, Mike.
Yeah, and you live under my trailer park, Lucas. Just tell the truth.
No, man.
I built a little crawl space down there for Lucas.
Metropolises realize that the world is bigger than Lawrenceburg, Indiana.
A trailer park.
See, you know what? Why is it that you guys can make fun of people that live in trailer parks? What makes you better than people that live in trailer parks?
Nobody's making fun of you. We're just
you guys are making fun of people that live in trailer parks. That's kind of a hate crime, I would think.
You making fun? I'm not making fun of people who live in trailer parks. No.
It's all playful fun, Mike.
No, it's
if
not
you
playful
want to live
fun.
in a trailer park,
Because
God
there's
bless you.
people here that
Freedom
are
of choice.
tweeting me wanting to know why you guys are so prejudiced against people who live in trailer parks.
That's a fake news.
Yeah, right.
It's
That's
not fake news.
That's
I'll
Okay,
retweet it to
Donald
you
Trump.
right now from Betty in Baltimore County. She works for Kyle Guy.
That's a great. I mean, both number ones. Tiger Woods' comeback and the Humboldt situation were great number ones. And those are the two biggest stories of the year in my book. And I applaud all of us for kind of getting to that same resolution. You can't argue with anyone.
All right. Do you want
We're
to
all
discuss
good.
anything else, Steve, before we let Lucas
Yes,
go
I
to his
do.
all-night
Let's make
party?
predictions for 2019. Let's go look at this while we're on, because we've only been on for, 30,
We've been on for almost an
40,
hour, Steve. Let's wrap it up. It cost me
All
money
right,
to call
let's-
Canada. Let's go.
predictions for 2019. Lucas, Super Bowl champion.
Oh, Super Bowl champion. I hate to say it because they're in my division, but I think the Saints.
Okay.
Now, I would
I
like to
really
bring
do.
up the fact that I picked the Saints and Chargers at the start of the year. I would also like to bring up the fact that it's the 2018 season, so wouldn't the 2019 season champions be a team the next year?
No, Super Bowl's played in 2019 by February.
But it's the 2018
It's the 2018
champion. Mike is
season.
right.
2018
Mike is right on this one.
So I want a
Which is
prediction
ridiculous.
for who wins next year's Super Bowl, since we're going to go that way.
That would be in 2019.
Yeah, but it would be to 2000. Okay, so what you're telling me is the season that was just
Oh,
played
Jesus.
is
Are
the
you really gonna go
2019
here?
season.
All right, 2018 Super Bowl champion.
Oh, okay.
Like I
That makes more
prefer
sense.
to you.
Okay,
Go ahead, whatever.
go ahead. You know, I agree with Lucas. I think the Saints are going to win it all. Steve's going to pick the Colts to play the Cowboys because he's a homer. And he's in love with the Cowboy fan that's on the show.
Nope, I'm going with Patriots.
Okay, so that makes everything you did in this show yesterday completely mute when you were predicting the Colts to play the Cowboys.
It's a different show.
All right.
Different
Who was the
show. It's a
new
NCAA
year.
basketball?
It's
Who
a
was
new
the
year.
Who was the NCAA basketball championship, Steve?
Dude,
Lucas.
Michigan.
easy.
You're both wrong.
No.
Michigan's not even the best team in the Big Ten. The Indiana Hoosiers will. All right. What is Major League Baseball? Who wins the World Series? Lucas?
Yankees. I'm going with Yankees.
Shut up, Steve. I asked
I'm
Lucas.
going to go Red Sox repeat.
All right. I'm going to go to Reds beat the Red Sox in 7, just like 1975, because the Reds just got two players that can actually bat above 250. What are we missing that's important?
Stanley Cup.
Okay.
Ooh. I'm going to say the Nashville Predators.
I'm going Predators too. That's where I was going to go. Predators. Yeah. That's where I was going. Mike? Yeah. He's like,
Mike,
what?
what?
What's hockey?
Hockey?
I
What's hockey?
believe this. What do you mean hockey? I watch hockey, unlike you, Steve, so I don't even know what the hell you're talking about. I actually had
You
hockey
play
in my top 10.
You play hockey on the potholes out there in front of your trailer park where.
You know what? If you ever get near my trailer park, we'll probably end up playing hockey on your face. So you need to watch what you say. All right, I believe this. I believe the Tampa Bay Lightning will win it all.
Oh, that's a good pick.
It's a good pick. I think it's going to be somebody. I think it's good for hockey to.
You have
be
no
somebody-
clue what you're talking about, Steve. You just don't.
Move on.
Okay. Don't
Move
push
on.
this, all right?
Alabama or Clemson?
Clemson.
Am I supposed to answer now, Steve?
Oh no, go ahead, Mike. I'll give you
Oh.
first dibs at this.
I've told you for months, Clemson's the best team.
All right, Alabama and a runaway.
No, there's no way. Because anybody that would pick anybody to blow out Clemson is stupid. Well, okay, now I understand your pick. What else we got?
I made that mistake.
I think we should wrap up the show.
Me
Start a
too.
new year.
NBA. And what NBA?
Indiana Pacers.
NBA.
Indiana Pacers will win it all.
No way.
Best team in
Golden
the East will
State.
be in the finals. Indiana Pacers. Probably sweep the Raptors in the conference final because that's what the Raptors are good for. Go ahead, Steve.
Raptors are making the final.
No, they're not.
No, they're not. I'm going with the Celtics.
All right. Anything else you want,
right.
Steve?
No. I guess you guys want to end the show.
All right, Lucas, tell our listeners where they can find you.
At Wii Sports. Follow me on Rogers Sportsnet. It'll be a good time. I'm looking forward to 2019. And Steve, Mike, thanks for the opportunity to have me on the show. And best of luck with you guys. I know you guys are doing great stuff. So best of luck to you both.
All right, guys. Thank you, Lucas. Same to you. And you can follow us at The Grueling Truth. You can hear all of our shows on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Spreaker, Stitcher, TuneIn. Wherever you hear sports podcasts, you'll find The Grueling Truth. So for Lukas Weese, Steve Risley, who did not interrupt me when I was doing this closing, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.